I am Fireface! And you're watching the Crafty Goblin! In today's video, my human slave and I will show you how we build tables. Of course, I don't need tables. I eat straight from the rotten carcass. But my human slave, he is civilized. He needs tables. So we shall build them.
For months, I've been racking my brains trying to come up with an idea, any idea, for crafting tables for use as drop terrain on a tile, and have had no success. I've seen other videos to show you how to do it using XPS foam, but to get good results, you're going to need a hot wire cutting table, and I just don't have one, yet. This leaves me limited to building them out of foam board. The problem with that is I suck at drawing, period. So I need a jig. Coming up with a jig isn't as simple as it seems. Or is it?
If I am not impressed, you will know pain!
So I was at my local department store across the street from my house and shopping for, of all things, deodorant. Yeah, we all use it, we all need it. As I'm shopping, the idea hit me. That little piece of plastic underneath the lid to your deodorant stick that covers the stick, when you first open it, you pop that little piece of plastic off, you throw it in the garbage. That would make a perfect jig for making tables out of foam board. So I bought a stick of Dove deodorant for a few bucks, and now I have a jig.
No excuses! Get it done!
I'm needing to make some oval-shaped tables for a magical classroom scenario. I have the tile. I even have some bookshelves, thanks to Jeremy over at Black Magic Craft. But I don't have tables, so it's time to build. The good thing about this build is that you won't need a ton of material. Scrap material will even do. First, peel the paper off the scrap foam board, and then press firmly into the board with your plastic jig. So you want to press your plastic jig firmly enough into the foam board that it leaves an impression of the shape in the foam board. You do that for as many tables as you want to build. And the great thing about this is that you can pretty much mass produce them. But for the purposes of this video, we're going to build 6 tables. After you have your patterns pressed, you can cut them out with a safety knife. Carefully cut along the depressed lines until all 6 tables have been cut out.
from my hideout to check on my slave's progress. He better impress me.
So you can take a straight edge like this and take the piece that you want to put the impressions on, okay? And you just start at one end, get what looks to be a straight line, and press in deep. I'm using a cheap $1 window scraper to achieve this. And then flip it over to the other side so you can see the line that you just pressed. And move about a 1/4 of an inch down and press again. Try to keep the lines as straight as possible. You don't need to really measure them out, but just try to keep it as straight as you can. And then move about a 1/4 of an inch down more. And just try to eyeball it as much as possible. Okay. I'll tell you guys something that resembles that. And then what you can do is you can take a pen and sort of just push the lines in a little further, because the pen will, in a way, not quite, but in a way, kind of cut through the foam, whereas the straight edge will just give an impression. Okay, so then you end up with something that looks a little bit like that. It doesn't have to be exact. Again, it's just a small table. Nobody's going to pay that much attention to it, but if you want to give it some further detail, you can take the ballpoint and sort of just gently poke holes around the edges. So then you end up with something like that. Okay? And then once that's done, you can take a wire brush and just brush it gently across the surface. No more than a few times. You don't want to mutilate the styrofoam. You just want to give it a texture that sort of resembles wood grain.
These designs, they're a step up, but I've yet to be satisfied.
The next step involves cutting out some legs. can go with many different options for this. You've got this style right here. The simple style, which involves just cutting out a 1-inch square and cut out legs like this using a 1.5-inch by 1-inch rectangle cut in half. Legs like this, which is basically a 1-inch square cut in half and then cut in half again. So basically you're cutting a 1-inch square into 4s and then gluing them onto the bottom of the table. Into that, but with a 1.5-inch rectangle cut into 4s.
Is this garbage really the best you can do? Do better!
I have a spare piece here, and it dawns on me that I need to make a rectangular shaped desk for this classroom. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Just take my ruler here and mark off spaces on this every 1/4 inch. And then again, take my $1 window scraper straight edge and just line it up with the edges and make straight line impressions into the foam. So that I end up with something that looks like that. I can then take my pen and go straight across with it to further impress the lines. Okay. And then take my pen again and put holes at either end. And then with my wire brush, just take it and scrape it all the way across. You don't need to do it hard. Just enough so that you get a wood grain texture.
Slave! You will finish your job quickly! I have other uses for you.
Went ahead and made another one of these and cut it into smaller pieces that I can then glue around the bottom edges like that. Okay? Kind of give the table a little bit more detail and depth. We're going to go ahead and hot glue those to kind of speed up time here. Alright, now that I got the heat gun all warmed up, it's time to hot glue. now you're going to end up with something that looks like this. Take your wire brush and just around the legs. It'll give it that wood grain finish as well. After your tables are finished and you decide on which style you want to go with for the legs, and you got your wood grain finish, you can go ahead to paint. You want to start with a Mod Podge coat first, and then you want a brown, sort of a lighter brown color for the tables. You don't want to make it too dark, as most tables don't have that deep dark brown wood finish, unless of course you're in a cabin or something like that. But being that this is a classroom, you want your tables to be a lighter color brown. So keep that in mind when you're painting and mixing your paint. So we're going to start with our Mod Podge coat, and we'll do a couple of tables here to demonstrate. We'll start with this one right here, which is going to end up being the desk. And you just lightly coat the entire surface in black Mod Podge. Make sure you get in all the cracks and crevices there. And make sure you get the entire piece, even underneath, because you want to really stiffen this piece up, especially since we used hot glue to put it together instead of regular PVA glue. Now that the Mod Podge coat is dry, we're going to go ahead and proceed with our wood color coat, which is a very light brown. Okay, just go ahead and spread it on just like this. You should only need one coat of this. I went ahead and used the cheap paint, which is watered down, but I added a little bit of a thicker dark brown to it just to give it some more thickness, so that I wouldn't need to use more than one coat on this. Now that I've got a coat of brown paint on all 6 of the tables, we can proceed with the final step of the painting process, which is the dry coat. We're going to forego a wash on these because it's not really necessary for tables, and go directly to a dry coat. And we have a much lighter shade of brown for this. Now that we've completed the painting process, I now have tables that I can stick on my magical school tile and run a magical school scenario for my players, and I have tables that I can drop onto that tile. I went ahead and I used 6 different leg styles, as you can see here. Some of them are more detailed than others. Some of them make the process a lot quicker than others. Whatever works for you is perfectly fine. It's your game, your terrain, and at the end of the day, you decide what's best for your game. So there you have it. Actually 7 perfectly good tables that you can use that are made entirely out of foam board. No XPS foam, no wire cutting table, just foam board, glue, some paint, and a safety knife. That's it. And you got some good looking tables that you can drop on the table for use with Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, or any other role-playing game that's played on the table. So there you have it. Thank you for watching the Goblin Craft, and please, if you like this video, hit that like button, hit that bell notification, and subscribe. And leave a comment in the comment section below. And thank you again for watching the Goblin Craft.
As for this video, like it and subscribe!